Alright, so here we go. I'm Mr. Yi. This is my tutorial on using MediBang Paint. This is Will Smith on a shark after Kehinde Wiley's Napoleon Leading the Army over the Alps. Alright, so I started with a collaged image that I made in Photoshop as my my underpainting. How's that? That I'm going to trace over and illustrate. So we have the four elements that taken from Kehinde Wiley's painting that he based on Jacques Louis David, his Napoleon crossing the Alps. We have four elements. We have figure on a steed riding something over the Alps, up the mountain. So we have the terrain, we have a pattern in the background, and then we have the figure. So where the original has Napoleon on a horse, riding uphill over the mountain, right? The terrain is moving upwards to show that it's going uphill, and the background in the original is a landscape. It goes back into space using atmospheric perspective, but Kehinde Wiley, as his trademark, is he created a pattern, a flat pattern in the background, like a wallpaper or a tapestry of some kind. So I have this one, a flattened graphic wallpaper background. It's waves, so it fits the theme. Instead of a mountain going upwards, I have a wave in water. And then instead of Napoleon on a horse, I have Will Smith on a shark. So I had pasted all these elements in Photoshop, so I can use that as my background, as my basis. And I am now using I'm using an Apple pen, and then the brushes on the left side. So that same as the Adobe Sketch, you have your layers on your right side. Hit the plus sign to make a new layer, and you can add an image from there as my background. This is a new layer. I had made the background layer, I changed the opacity, made it more transparent, so it's easy to see on top. So if you look at the top of the layer menu, you have opacity and a slider. So you move that to your left after selecting the first layer. Now I'm working on my second layer. This is where I'm inking and doing my illustration. So again, back to the menu on the left side, you can you have your different brushes. If you look at the top, there's a bar up top with different tools on it. First one is brush. Hit that. Choose the brush you want. Once you get the one that you like, you hit the gear that shows those are your settings, and then you have different. So I have a pen, a sharp. It says pen, and in parentheses says sharp. I change the size. Right, I want it very thin, so I made move the slider all the way to your left. Opacity full, make it 100%. Minimum width, I brought it all the way down. On the bottom here, you can choose brush settings, brush, and so forth. Then to zoom in, so I can get the figure. I can trace the figure first. Use two fingers, put it on the screen, and move them away from each other. So you two fingers on the screen and push your fingers apart, and you're zooming in. If you want the opposite, two fingers on the screen, pinch them together, and you're zooming out. Alright, so now I'm tracing over Will Smith's face. Doesn't look very much like him right now. I do make a correction later on, and I can make any corrections you want using the eraser tool instead of having the brush, a pen tool right now. I can change that to go to brush, hit brush, and you have all your options. Then the very bottom is your eraser, and you can erase it. Alright, so right now I am tracing over the his body. Alright, so again, the lines are very thin right now, and I'm tracing over, again, the detail, and so forth. making a mark where I want where the shadows are going to be. And then later on, when I changed my brush thickness, I made it thicker, and then I fill in the shadows. So right now, I'm just kind of doing the outline, putting some guidelines in there. There we go. Remember, the face doesn't look very much like him now, so I will go back later on to fix that. Now I'm doing the shark. So remember, the brush size is very, or the pen size is very thin right now, and I do want to have line variation, right? Thick and thin lines, right? It makes it much more interesting to look at. You don't want it to be coloring book like. So I changed the thickness here and give it a little more weight. I want the shark to stand out a little more. There we go. Have confidence in your strokes and your lines, so that it it stands out and has also your handwriting on it. You don't want it to look too sloppy or too messy. You don't want it to be sterile either. You want to make sure that your handwriting comes through. Get some rendering in there. Right. If I want to hide a layer, hit the eyeball. And this way you can kind of see what it looks like without the background, right? Because I'm going to hide it later. So finish your detail work here. Add some mask and add some shadow to it. And give it some weight. Remember to keep your light source consistent. So even though I collage everything together, when I do the drawing myself, like I'm doing now, I'm going over and inking it, I want to make sure my light source is consistent. So right now my light source is coming from the upper left-hand side and pointing to the right. Right? So light source is your source of light, kind of like the sun, a flashlight, a light bulb, right? So you're trying to keep that consistent on all your forms. So this is where you're going to make those corrections to make it look like it's cohesive and goes together. Okay. Now I'm going to put some rendering on the shark itself. Actually, I'm doing the water right now. The waves. Thick and thin lines on the waves. I put some white in there already. Make sure you get some highlights in there. Just look like it flows. You want to have movement. Anything that's on diagonal is going to show automatic movement. So right now, those lines are going up and down. They're kind of on a diagonal. So that's going to show that it is not standing still. It's moving, right? If it's totally horizontal or vertical, it's going to look more stable and quieter looking because it has a base, has strength. But anything that's on a diagonal is going to look like it's crashing together, has movement, you're colliding, falling, right? These black lines on the shark right now is your shadow, is your reflection, right? Remember, on something like a shark or like a snake or something, a serpentine or something that's kind of shiny. You normally, most illustrators will put black shadow. It's called a shadow edge on that shape or form. This will show volume and has light coming from the top and the bottom, which creates that shadow edge. Last step would be to trace the background, the wallpaper, and that'll happen, and I'll show you that in another tutorial. All right, thanks for watching. See you.